Hey, welcome back everybody. I'm Lou, and this is Metal Lens Reviews. What's up? So, if this happens to be your first time here, you're checking out my channel, you like what you see, thank you. Please do me that favor of like, comment, subscribe. As I mentioned before, it really helps me grow the channel, spread it to the masses, and of course motivates me to provide you guys with more content to watch. So it's a win-win situation. Yeah. Alright, so why am I here? This isn't a video reaction, movie review, or a game review, in case you guys are wondering about the title. But no, this is something I got to deep dive in about a very passionate subject. I love history. Some of you already know this. And I might have talked about it at some point in my channel. I don't know. I have to go back in my video catalog and, see if I did anything history related. Anyway, it's a passion of mine. It never left. I used to read a lot of history books, watch a lot of documentaries, history related videos, yada yada yada. And I never went to school for it, but I like to consider myself a armchair historian, amateur historian. But I know it enough to be competent and talk to you guys, and hopefully you learn something new, or because Google today kind of answers a lot of people's questions. To be honest with you, there's no reason. And there's plenty of reasons, obviously, because, Google is very one-sided, and the same thing like Wikipedia, anyone could edit it, I think, and, this is, like I said, this is all public information. I'm just talking to you guys about maybe something you didn't know, so that should be interesting. So as the title implies, Rome the Sequel. Now, what the hell is that? Not a video game or a movie, but I wrote some notes down up top, so I don't get fact checked by some nut, and bombard me in the comments section, so I know what I'm talking about. So because I could recite stuff from memory, but I don't want to get a date wrong, and because people go nuts, they critique and criticize you a lot. So like I said, I wrote notes down just so I could make this conversation sound sense, or maybe to someone who really doesn't dig history or finds it boring, maybe I could make it a little easier for you to understand. So anyway, Rome the Sequel. What the hell does that mean? So Rome fell in 476 AD. It's a long ass time ago, and the Goths, this Germanic tribe, Germans, took it, and boom, the famous Roman Empire that we all see in movies and documentaries, they just go away. Okay, not really. They didn't all just kill them all. They just kind of replaced, I guess, the government, you would say, the Senate. So when you work for like a big organization and it gets taken over by a bigger company, it's kind of like that. And sometimes they let people go, or they replace them with their own, or management changes the game a little bit. I'm sure we all went through this. So that's what's happening in Rome. Rome and Italy, Rome. But miles away, you got another place. Constantinople. Ooh, I know. So, what happens there? So think of Constantinople, which is today Istanbul in Turkey. It's like Rome the Sequel. So really, technically, it's called, well, it was like in history books, I guess, the Eastern Roman Empire. So it's the eastern half of the Roman Empire. So the people living in Constantinople portray themselves as Romans. Some of them speak Latin. It changes to Greek down the line. But, so the population, not so Italian. I want to say a lot of Greek, maybe a few people from the Balkans, some Slavs in there. Greek-speaking people, Arabs, what have you. It's a big trading center, full of spice. You could look it up yourself. Type in, Byzantium or Constantinople. Now, it's to not be confused, because I guess people, you get kind of, confused when it comes, to, Eastern Roman Empire, what's the difference? So, it's basically just in the eastern part of the world. It's in Asia Minor, Turkey. This is Constantinople I'm talking about. Who named it that? Because obviously it wasn't called like that before. So long ago before that, it was called Byzantium, I think, or so anyway, that's where they got the name, the Byzantine Empire. And that's actually a modern sense. Nobody in Constantinople called themselves Byzantines. They called themselves Romans. That's the whole purpose of the header of this video. The reason why I called it this, Rome the sequel. So they were technically Romans by name. I'm sure there's a few Italians that lived there. I don't know, but if I could have a time machine and go back, I would answer that question. But the population was much more diverse than, say, Rome and Italy. So anyway, So Constantine the Great, he's obviously way before the fall of Rome. Not Roman himself. In fact, he was like half Greek and this combination of Illyrian, I think, or Thracian. So Illyrian were like a group of people that lived in, Eastern Europe, Southern Europe, like around there, So think of like Albania, like around those places, Montenegro, all those kind of places. That's Constantine, right? Constantine fights this huge civil war, moves the capital, after winning, moves the capital of Rome for whatever reason. He had his own reasons. Moves the importance of Rome that wasn't Rome. He moves all that, the half of the Senate and just really important people to this place, which is now he names after himself, Constantinople. And that's it. That's how Constantinople gets named, Constantinople. All right, so we got that part. Okay, so fast forward that, Rome collapses, but the East, Constantinople, still goes on, continues, and in fact, it has its own set of emperors that call themselves Roman emperors. Right? I know. Probably super confusing, because people that have like a good grasp of Rome, don't talk about the Eastern Roman Empire. In fact, a lot of people are probably logically thinking, well, how could that be, Rome is in Italy? Yes, but the title, like, let's see, how can I put it? Like, someone gave you a title, like, King of so-and-so, you're the King of New York, but you were born in New Jersey, okay? So technically, you're not a New Yorker because you were, born and raised in Jersey, but you've maybe established a business in New York, so now, that people love you, or governors that were born somewhere else, become a governor of a different state. They represent that state. They weren't born there, but they, represent. So that's, what's going on right now. But yeah, so, there's that. So the people in Eastern Rome, Constantinople, but whatever way with all race and ethnicities aside, they consider themselves Romans. In fact, they called themselves Romans for a very, very long time. Now, there's another guy entering the picture, okay? I'm getting dry now. I'm a little hoarse. See, it's a very passionate subject to me, so I run out of juice. Justinian the Great. All right, so this guy, 527 to 565, so also a long-ass time ago. Also not Roman. This mix of Illyrian, Thracian. So once again, think of people from like Eastern Europe, Albania, Montenegro. Not saying it's those people. I'm just saying people that came from that area a long time ago. Because that's a whole different debate. I don't even want to get into that. But anyway, Justinian the Great. I'll explain why he has that title. Not Italian, but calls himself, fancies himself, a Roman emperor. Now, mind you, Rome's still going on. They're doing their thing. They're run by a completely different organization, group of people. But, so Justinian's doing his thing. He's so successful, he builds this, he starts anyway, starts to build this church called the Hagia Sophia. You can actually go visit it today. It's a mosque now in Istanbul. It's the iconic, I'll leave a link down below so you can check it out. But yeah, it was really grandiose. It's what people traveled to Constantinople to see, and it's withstood the test of time. You could still check it out. It was a cathedral, a Christian church, place of worship. Now it's a Muslim mosque. So, so Constantinople, it flourishes. It does great. It gets a lot of land. Now, Justinian the Great, like I said, not being Italian, but he's still, him and his people. In fact, he's the last Roman emperor that uses Latin. So Latin becomes, Spanish, Italian, yada, yada, yada. And the Roman emperors, or the Byzantine emperors after him, all start speaking Greek, I'm sure they use Latin probably in like different formal situations, but that empire slowly becomes Greek down the line. But yeah, so Justinian has this thought. He's like, man, I'm a Roman emperor, but I don't have Rome. I don't have Italy. So he wants to make that connection now. I'll remind you, Rome is over here. Constantinople is here. Both people in these places consider themselves Romans, who, are obligated and the heirs to that, name, Rome. They'll still call each other Romans and, go to war over it and whatever. And this is what happens. Justinian comes to the conclusion like, well, I feel like me being a Roman, I should own Rome, or at least parts of Italy. And that's what he does. So he gets this really charismatic general, Belisarius, and him and his boys go all the way to Italy. Now, this is a very costly, on paper it looks grandioso, it's great, epic battles, but in real life it was probably miserable for the people living in Italy at this time. Famine, disease, what have you. But Justinian was very, very determined. So, long story short, he wins the battle. He doesn't get all of Italy, but he gets just enough. So think of Rome, Venice, down. Naples, Sicily. So he gets a good chunk of Italy, right? Now, over the course of years, when Justinian passes away and his successors continue on the Byzantine Eastern Roman Empire, he loses a little bit more, obviously. Rome itself, Italy, Rome, starts to kind of become independent. Someone else enters the picture, and they become now the Holy Roman Empire, which is also run by Germans, French. It's this weird. History when it comes to Italy, medieval, because no Italians really ran Italy until, like, I'm gonna say, I don't know, like the 12th century, maybe a little bit before that. There was Italians there, but like the big shots running the show weren't really Italian, Just look Holy Roman Empire and you'll know what I'm talking about. So anyway, so the Byzantines, Eastern Romans, they start losing bits and pieces of Italy, but they're able to retain on just enough, I guess, as a kind of a sense of pride, Now, they held ground in a lot of... If you look at the map of the Byzantine Empire, East Roman Empire, as a whole, at its peak, it's grand. I'm talking parts of Russia, Caucasus, the Middle East, Asia, obviously all of Asia Minor. That's where Constantinople was based. Parts of southern Italy, Venice for a while, and it just and obviously Greece, So it definitely was an empire, and after years of civil wars, infighting, betrayal, the rise of the Arab caliphates, other outsider enemies, Europe itself, and finally the Ottomans, the Turks, put the nail in the coffin. Put the nail in the coffin to the Byzantine Empire. So the year 1453, 1453. That's it. They're done. The end of the Eastern Roman, or just Roman in general, empire. So collectively, if you add the Western Roman Empire to the East, timeline-wise, give or take, it's about 2,000 years. So 2,000 years of ruling and influence. So after Constantinople finally falls, whatever, Turks invade it, they change it now, they make it their capital. But there's like little states, little successor states. I don't know if you know what that is. So like, families from Constantinople but kind of broke off for, whatever reason and developed own states. And some of those people drifted back to Italy and became part of the Renaissance. A lot of Greeks were held in high esteem for being just natural philosophers, and and like I said, you could still see Byzantine, Eastern Roman influence throughout the world. If you look at Eastern Orthodox churches, the religion itself, Orthodoxy, Greek Orthodoxy, Russian Orthodoxy, Eastern Orthodoxy, which is like the eastern side of Christianity. You got the Catholic West and the Greek East. Obviously Russia is a big successor. If you want to get all technical with it, there was a Byzantine queen that married into the the Russian royal house, and they were all distributed throughout. Like I said, and even the buildings. You look up Byzantine architecture. It shows there's good examples in southern Italy and Sicily. Sicily is more of a mix of this Norman-esque. The Normans were like these, French Vikings, whatever. So they incorporated a lot of stuff. The Arabs, of course, and the Greeks had a very particular architectural style. Anyway, that's kind of the gist of it. So it goes from the early days of, Caesar and Augustus, very familiar names to you guys, I'm sure. I'm sure you heard of them. The, representation of, the Roman Republic, Roman Empire, all the way down to the last Constantine in 1453 when Constantinople fell to the Turks. And, like I said, you had a few, successor states that survived that, but, they ultimately extinguished. And I remember hearing, there's actually a fact, the Greeks that weren't killed or whatever, that still lived under the Ottoman rule or whatever, still consider themselves Romans. So, go figure, right? Just the name. See, that's why I think people get the misconception when you read history books or novels or whatever, and you see, this man was a Roman general, and odds are they're talking about a Roman general from Rome, Italy, or from the Italian peninsula, and odds are he probably was some kind of Latin, Roman, but it was such a ambiguous term. So you could have been a Greek. I don't know, someone Semitic, like an Arab. Heck, you could have been from somewhere in Asia. But if you adopted that Roman persona and you were under that sphere of influence, maybe, in a Roman providence, you could consider yourself a Roman. Being Roman didn't exactly mean you had to be from Rome. If you were under that umbrella of the Roman Empire, or, to an extent, the, Eastern Roman Empire, or Byzantium, you definitely had the perks of calling yourself a Roman. Was everyone treated equally? Probably not. But, at the end, having that title and just leaving your mark on history, I think that speaks, tons. And pretty remarkable. There's obviously bigger civilizations that lasted way longer than 2,000 years. Egypt comes to mind. The ancient Sumerians, Mesopotamia. I could go on and on. The Mongols, obviously. But yeah, I think, and I hope I enlightened a lot of people, or maybe informed you guys about something you may or may have not known. Like I said, I don't claim to know everything. It's a subject that I like, and I've studied mostly the people I talk about. So in this instance, Rome, the Byzantines, that's my, collective knowledge. I know a little bit more when it comes to the Middle East or Eastern Mediterranean, some Russian history. But I think it's a great subject. You don't hear people talk about history that much anymore. I feel like every year it's being replaced and lost, rewritten. People like to use that word a lot, but I say go look for it yourself. Don't take my word for it. You want to know about your background, whatever you want. You want to start there. That's a great place. That's what led me also further deep diving into history. Knowing a little bit about myself and my background, because you might think you just come from one place in the world, but when you do things like a DNA test, or you start looking in your your family archives, if you have that, it opens up, so it's fun, but I think it's knowledgeable. I think it's interesting, and you see how, well, everyone is kind of connected in one way or another. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. All right, well, thanks for listening to this. I hope I didn't bore you too much. I'll leave little links down below, and, in case you want to, do a little more research yourself into this subject. Other than that, thanks again for listening. If you made this far in the video, please like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to support the channel in any manner, I'll leave a little link. Buy me a coffee. You could do it that way. That's it, guys. Thanks again, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Peace.